Play is learning. It is essential in the development of every and any child. Incorporating play in the educational setting allows for creativity, engagement, and capacity for higher level thinking. What does the word play mean to you? Going outside, having fun, and getting exercise at the same time. I usually think of it as a way to get kids hooked into learning. A time to relax and have fun. Play means fun, unstructured time. Exploring and having fun with the toys and other things. I think it's where emotion and expression combine.
When kids are playing, it's not just to waste time. It's because they're learning something for it. It's because they're being creative. They're using their imagination, and that's something that they really need to do.
In the book, The New Science of Learning, it talks about how we learn, and it talks about how our brain is set up to learn. And in our other book, Learning Through Play, Early Childhood Theory, Development, Exploration, and Engagement, in Chapter 1, it talks about play as learning. So what it essentially is saying is that children can learn better when they are playing. In the New Science of Learning, it states that children learn better when you engage their senses. They do better when they can physically touch, smell, and see an object or topic that you are talking about. Something they can hold in their hands helps them learn better. They will be able to retain it better, and they will be able to understand what it means. In the New Science of Learning, it says, quote, "Put simply, a multisensory approach to learning is much better than a unisensory one," end quote. Meaning, you want them to engage all of their senses. They need to engage all of their senses to be able to make a new brain connection. In our other book, Learning Through Play, it talks about play. Quote, "What is the value of play?" Think about this. Creativity, innovation, imagination, originality, and innovation drive the American economic system. The continuous development of the United States and other countries is dependent on promoting and encouraging its citizens to become creative and innovative entrepreneurs, end quote. So, we need more creative and innovative people in our world to help us become better and for us to have new things. And it starts with our children. If you or the teacher can make the lesson for a child fun, then they will want to learn and they will be able to remember the information. Remember, they are just children, and so they need to play. And it's not a bad idea to make learning a part of play. Do you think play-based learning is beneficial?
It gets your mind going. It keeps you active.
I think they love it. Hands-on, studies show that hands-on is the best way for children to learn. It's beneficial for the children. They're having fun while they're learning, and it's in less structured than the classroom situation is.
Okay. Yes, because it's a good way to keep children's attention.
I think it'd be beneficial just because you have a more thorough exposure to the material as opposed to just sitting there and listening to it or reading.
Yes, I think it is. I think they also need a structured environment as far as when it's time to sit down and do writing, or if it's time to do math, but then they also do need that learning through play, just so that they can become a little bit more independent and have their own thoughts.
I think it's beneficial, yes. Kids learning new things is always a positive experience. However, I do not believe that every activity they do has to be about learning. Some things should be just about having
Based on
fun.
the answers of my interviewees, it can be concluded that hands-on activities are an essential part of what learning through play is. I did some research and I found 2 articles that support hands-on or playing activities for the development of children. The first one is titled Time to Play by Kyle Pruitt. It states that one of the most important things young children learn through all this tireless trial and error or play is how to connect events, feelings, memories, thoughts, and learning together into experience and to file it away in their brains under certain symbols. As we have learned in class, this refers to schemas. If a child is able to turn his or her learning of a specific topic into an experience, they will retain that learned information for the rest of their lives. The other article is titled Hands-On is Minds On by Samantha Cleaver. In her article, Cleaver informs that hands-on activities activate kids' brains. If the kids' brains are activated, that means they are learning. Cleaver also states that when you combine activities that require movement, talking, and listening, it activates multiple areas of the brain, just like the biology student from Texas A&M said. Hands-on activities or play are very important to be incorporated in the classroom because not only does it activate the kid's brain, but also prevent daydreaming and restlessness during the learning experience, like Cleaver said. This means that children are engaged in the learning process, and this maximizes their chances of learning and retaining the information. Hands-on activities should always be incorporated in our classrooms so our students can have a meaningful learning experience.
How do y'all think play-based learning would have made a difference for your learning in grade school if it was incorporated more?
I just feel like during school that it was very like we had a warm-up and then we had we worked on our warm-up and then we had the lesson and then we worked on our individual assignments. Like there was nothing interesting. There were very little projects. It was mostly just homework, assignment, lecture. That was it.
That's how it was for us.
Yeah, and I don't honestly, like I was thinking about it today, and I don't remember a lot of what I learned, or I don't remember a lot about school because nothing like really grabbed my attention.
The best thing that I remember was that we were in science. The King Henry doesn't drink chocolate milk. The only reason why I remember it is because it says King Henry doesn't drink chocolate milk. That's the only reason why I can remember that, because my teacher taught me that.
I remember King Henry died drinking chocolate milk.
Yeah. And then like the Order of the Planets, because my teacher did it in like a poem or whatever.
My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas.
Yeah.
But now we don't have Pluto anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, she's so sad. But yeah, that's the only way I can remember those, because other than that, it would just be a piece of paper and us writing it.
See, it's stuff like that that made us remember stuff, but other than that, like, what do we really remember, really?
Well, I remember a lot, because when I was going to elementary school in Mexico, we did a lot of hands-on activities. Like, we would go outside of the classroom, and he'll teach outside of the classroom. When we're talking about science, we would go into the trees, we had our own garden, and like when we were doing math or measuring, we actually went around the school, because it was a really tiny school. It was like 36 per grade. So we went around the school with the measuring tape, measured the whole school. So I remember all of that history.
I would definitely remember that. Instead of sitting in a desk and not talking.
I actually do remember one science project that I did. I don't know what exactly the project, like what the overall lesson was, but I do remember I did a project where I actually like made a garden and I took pictures of my plants like growing. But that's, I don't remember the lesson, but I do remember what I did for it. But other than that, I don't think I had another project like that.
I know in like the classroom that I'm mentor teaching in now, they do project-based learning where they actually create something like a project, and then they also do a lot of interactive lessons where it's a really good ebb and flow of constant instruction while they're in the classroom all day, because the teacher allows them to get up and move from their desk to go to different discussion groups. They have different groups for their reading, so they're not with the same people every single time they do a lesson. They're moving around the classroom a lot, and then he does it to where he'll have them act something out, and so all the kids can laugh and be like, oh my god, he's like did something really embarrassing, but they're going to remember that.
So they learn into that,
and all the kids, their disposition once they're in that community environment, they're all really ready to learn, and I think that's something important if you're giving them that time to relax and forget that they're just learning.
I think that it's important that more teachers, I see a lot more now, like we're actually getting the picture, like what is working, but I do feel like it's only a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not too many teachers are adapting
adjusting to this because they're so used to lectures, assignments, sitting behind the desk.
Yeah. And papers and papers and papers.
Right,
And like computer, like the teacher reading off the PowerPoint. So it's
boring.
It is.
There's a lot of educational gains being made now, but there's those teachers that are already in their position and they're kind of, this is my classroom, and they're just going to do what they've been doing, and that's.
Children can retain information better when they learn through play. Learning by doing is the way that you learn, not by listening, by doing something. Yes, they will have more fun. Yes, children can retain information better when they learn through play. Personally, I was always better through visual learning, so maybe it would have been a better choice for me as opposed to sitting in the classroom and reading. Yes, because they are having fun, and I think when you're having fun, you tend to remember those moments more.
Our job as a teacher is to make it as beneficial for them as possible. And so in doing that, we need to find ways that they learn best. And for kids that are in early childhood, we need to kind of come down to their level, and we need to get into their minds and figure out how they learn, how they think, and what are the best ways for them to learn.
Some ways teachers can teach through play. Here we see a child playing with blocks. He is trying to build a castle, but does not know exactly how. As a teacher, we can teach him to move the blocks a certain way so that he can move and make the castle. And this will also help him for future reference so that he can remember how to build the castle. This is a good example of learning through play.
Toys, they're different colors. What kind of pattern can you make? How many yellows? How many blues?
What we do is we have something at Howdy called the Power Hour. For 1 hour, we are working in small groups with children. For 30 minutes, they are working on computers, they are working on word work, they are working on math, social studies, science, all of that, and on the computer also. All of that is play-based learning, where they are playing games, but they are learning a specific skill that dovetails into what I'm teaching for the day.
Computer games, songs, board games.
A big thing for them with the way their structured environment is games. Making ABC games, phonics games, math games, anything that they want academically to incorporate into a game.
In the article, Maximizing Learning, Using Role-Playing in the Classroom, the authors, they talk a lot about how we can get children to use role-playing in groups or just with a partner one-on-one to get them more involved in the subject and to get them to really remember it, and by using real-world examples and by getting them kind of put in the author's shoes instead of just them looking on to the subject. For example, and they talk about this in the article, we can have the students do research on a certain person or a certain idea, and then have another person or their partner do research on the opposing side to that, and have them talk about it and discuss it, or not talk about it in a conversational way, but instead talk more where they're kind of debating and they're sharing their ideas, and have them not necessarily their ideas, but the ideas that they research, and have them debate back and forth so that they really have a good understanding of what they researched, instead of just kind of the broad idea of what they did. And by that, then the other person, by them debating back and forth and talking about their stance, then they're also learning about the opposing side's views. So this gets them involved in critical thinking. It's a great resource to have in the classroom, and I think that it'd be really helpful.
Some ways outside of the classroom where we use play-based learning.
Hey Lisa, what are you doing? I'm playing Words with Friends.
Oh really? Me too.
your spaces. A. C.
The category is color.
The color of the pig. Oh, pink. Yay! You got it!
So I found 2 articles about technology in the classroom. One was found on education.com. The name of the article is Effective Technology Teaching the Child. So this article basically supports technology in the classroom. It states that kids gravitate towards technology. If your child heads straight for the video games, you know just what we're talking about. Kids should find it easier to succeed in school with technology, and incorporating technology into the classroom requires a double innovation. Technology in education has been proven, especially when it comes to personalized learning. From math games that adjust the level of difficulty as players progress to electronic books that talk and respond to the tap of a finger. Products that personalize the learning experience for students often benefit their understanding. An interactive game is more engaging than a book, so technology often promotes more practice and review in areas requiring memorization, such as spelling, math, and geography. This frees up time in the classroom, so educators can focus on skills like problem solving, character development, and critical thinking. Technology may be changing the experience of education, but the role of teachers and parents grow increasingly important as they become the experts and guides for new learning resources. Teachers remain the constant in an ever-changing classroom environment, which will continue to shift with the technology tide. However, technology is used in class, it has the opportunity to be a great game changer. Second article found on globeandmail.com called Distracting Classroom iPads for Play Not Work Study article. It was an article of researchers surveying over 6,000 students who enrolled in grades 6 through 10. 300 teachers were asked about their experiences so far with using tablets daily in the classroom. The report concludes that outfitting large numbers of students with costly tablets is a worthwhile endeavor, provided that teachers are well prepared and trained for the radical shift in delivering their lesson plans. It would appear that incorporating the iPad into education constitutes a necessary risk for schools, and that this technology tool with breathtaking cognitive potential, states the report. Some of the teachers were getting the iPad on the first day of school with their students. Can you imagine? All the students were on Facebook, Twitter, and the teachers were like, oh my God, this is not working, and blaming the technology because he or she was not ready. The Canada Research Chair for Information and Communication Technologies in Education. You have teachers who are fully unaware of what's going on in the classroom, sitting reading their notes, and the students are just on the computer on the internet. The report notes that a surprising number of students, more than 1 in 3, admitted to playing games in the class, sometimes with their teacher's permission after an assignment or task was completed. Researchers were also surprised that in some ways the tablet technology wasn't being used to its full potential. Students said that they did relatively little reading on their tablets and were still using paper textbooks, while many assignments were still being submitted on paper rather than electronically. About 85% of the students said that they never or rarely used the iPad to prepare written work. Students also admitted that outside of the classroom, their tablets were mostly used for fun, not work. They spent over 76% of their time on the iPad outside the classroom on social activities, amusement, and other recreational uses. When we add that, they spent over 12.7% of their time on social media. Distraction is a big challenge, but we did a couple of studies on use of cell phones in the classroom, and even when it's forbidden, 95% of the students in grades 10 and 11 were texting in class, when they're not even allowed to have a cell phone. So distraction was there before, it was just more discreet. Now you're officially allowed to be distracted. Good teachers will go around, move in the classroom, change things around, and get students busy. When teachers were asked about the benefits of using iPads in class, about half said it opened up better access to information. 40% cited the easy portability of the devices, and about a third said it allowed for greater collaboration. When asked to rate their satisfaction with iPads as teaching tools on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 representing very or extremely satisfied, the average score was 3. Or moderately satisfied, the average score after asking students a similar question was 3.6. So, with using technology in classroom, it can be a beneficial tool if it's used in the right way. Also talked about some tips how to keep it like a positive thing to have technology in the classroom, like look for connections. When students use technology, it should be within the context of larger learning goals. And don't assume that they're just playing games on it because they could be using it to read a game. and it's all in the application. The success of any tool depends on how it is used. Ask how a gadget or program furthers higher thinking, basic skills, or child's ability to evaluate, analyze, and synthesize ideas.
Can play-based learning help kids develop new skills?
Yes. Anything helps develop new skills. They're learning through experience, and experience is where they get their new skills.
Studies show that children also enjoy, if they're engaged and it's fun, they learn more.
Absolutely, because I think you're interacting with the material in a different way than just, like I said, than just reading it or listening to it.
Yeah, it helps them with social skills.
Yeah. When they're playing, they're usually pretending, or they're imagining, inventing something. We have a lot of inventors right now. They're inventing wands and and they're making new kinds of vehicles. One of these days we might see one of those vehicles.
It would definitely be a good place to start. Children develop very quickly at their age, and each one individually will find out the best way to enhance their potential for learning.
In the article Playing in the Classroom by Benjamin Harris, he discusses in depth in his articles about how in the educational system today we seem to be focusing more on the formal curriculum, and while we're focusing on the formal curriculum and while we're trying to teach these kids, which by the way we're teaching first and second graders what was being taught in like the third and fourth grade now. So the curriculum has changed a lot throughout the years, which is great. We have high expectations for our kids now, and we're expecting more out of them, which is awesome. But at the same time, instead of using fun and using games and using play in the classroom, we're taking more of that away to use that time that was spent on recess and games and free time. We're using that to cram more of this knowledge into their heads, which in his article he discusses in depth of why this is doing more harm to them than good.
For our documentary, we interviewed a total of 9 people, and we all asked them the same question. As a child grows older, do you find learning through play holds less importance? And 3 of our interviewees said it holds less importance, and 4 said that it holds more importance, and 2 of them were indifferent. From this, we found that play is important at any age.
So I found a really informative and interesting article from Sam Houston's database titled Children's Active Learning Through Unstructured Play in Malaysia. It was published online just in June, and it was written by, and the study was carried out by Fatai, Fakue, and Bustan, all of a part of the Department of Educational Psychology, as well as the International Islamic University in Malaysia. So the study had 30 children that were observed in the physical setting of a Saudi school in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. They were being observed while in a large space in the school allocated for students' play. It is fully carpeted and filled with toys and other manipulatives. Some of the items included a plastic horse, football, skipping rope, a trampoline, a plastic playhouse, and a seesaw. The list kind of goes on. They have a lot of stuff in there. So the observation occurred over 3 consecutive days during their allotted playtime for 30 minutes each day. The 30 participants ranged in age from 3 to 5. The students that were over 5 were sadly excluded from this study because it was supposed to just be meant for the 3 to 5 age group. From the field notes that the observers gained, some kids played alone, majority did play in groups. Also, some of the students stayed with one activity, and there were others that decided to jump around to multiple and did use different manipulatives throughout their 30-minute time. Their findings included some really interesting things. So their findings were that 1, unstructured play enables young children to learn through cooperation. 2, when children engage in unstructured play, they gain knowledge and experience through imitation. And then 3, unstructured play helps young children learn through trial and error, gaining new insights. So also, another researcher that agreed with what the study was trying to gain and develop as a theory was that the researcher's name is Garagordobel and Barreco. They found in 2011 that play develops verbal creativity, graphic intelligence, and that the behaviors and traits in an inventive personality is also a result of learning through play. So the study did end up concluding that, considering their main findings, that many benefits can be accrued by children playing in an unstructured environment. Thus, parents, teachers, and other stakeholders involved in children's upbringing should not prevent children from playing, but rather provide safe environments where children can enjoy and develop themselves through playing. More facilities for play at schools and at home would be beneficial and help children develop both physically and intellectually. What I personally gained was more of an in-depth definition of what play can be, and so because play can be described as a range of self-chosen activities undertaken by children according to their own interests and enjoyment, it results in their satisfaction, and they're excited about what they're learning, and they're going to keep doing it. Educating young children should bring about development in all aspects of life. Play is a basic tool that can bring about effective learning and total development in children. Also, because play is a natural means for children's interaction, they learn important social skills as they play with one another, such as cooperation, taking turns, sharing, listening, and negotiating.
In my interviews, I interviewed 2 different undergraduates with different degrees other than education or other than teaching, and both pretty much came up to the same conclusion that play is beneficial to kids, and also if play was incorporated more into their education, then they would have benefited more in their grade school.
So we all agree that play-based learning is good for children. We all agree that it helps and it's beneficial to the way a child learns, essentially, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it essentially, a lot of social interaction, I would say it goes hand in hand with. I know there's kids that didn't have that, they don't have siblings, or they didn't have that time where they went to a preschool, so when they first go into the classroom environment, they shut down and they're really quiet, and you need to be that teacher that makes it really inviting for them to kind of come out of their shell and then facilitate their learning and not just let them kind of go by the wayside. So always be really attentive to all of your students, no matter how hard it is to do that. Make sure that you make a point to do it.
And I think that watching them play helps you get to know who they are and what they want to learn about too.
Yeah,
Like
what
what
pay attention to them.
Yeah, it all needs to be intentional. And I like the videos of the kids playing with blocks, because we never think about that of them learning from that. We think that's just meaningless play, but they're actually learning the entire time that they're doing it. They're getting social interaction with the other kids, or they're learning by putting the blocks together and building things, and they're talking about that. So I think all play is meaningful.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's also scientifically proven that when you're using your hands, you learn better. You activate more parts of your brain by using your hands and playing with things.
Yeah, it's more interactive.
Does it get I guess your energy flowing?
Yeah.
I guess when you use all your senses, it triggers different parts in your brain to actually make you retain it better. That's what they said, it helps.
So when we're future teachers and you see those kids playing, play is important.
Yeah. And then that's how they learn. So I know with me when I was younger, if I would have learned through play, I'm sure I would have understood information better.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is, That's how my brain functions, and I'm sure that's how other kids function, and especially now with technology. Technology is a big part in it, and we have to remember to use technology to our advantage and not for a disadvantage,
Yeah.
It'll help.
I think think that like even in my more recent years of being educated, because we're learning ways to teach children interactively in our education classrooms, that has helped me learn and be a better student and figure out what works for me. So if I know my learning style, I can be more adept to figure out what theirs is. And I've just been kind of like, thank goodness for these professors in the college setting that do remember the importance of play even for older students.
Yeah, I have, I'm a teacher for 3 different classes, and every single one of the classes, everything is, you know, your grades and your performance is based off of projects instead of testing. Because I've also had, you know, on the other end, these were never education classes, so obviously they don't really know the best ways to learn, but it was all based upon tests, and that was it. That was the only grades you got were tests. And so now I have this class that is all based upon projects, it's all creativity. You do the projects, like she gives you enough freedom to do the projects however you want, instead of just focusing on how well you do on a test. Because if you're not a good test taker, like, you're done.
And you may think that you're at this level when you really could see someone.
Right, and then think that you're not smart.
I think students learn more that way if it's hands-on and they're engaging themselves with it more than just reading it and it's not even interesting to them.
Yeah, I pretty much agree that play-based learning is better, more beneficial.
Yeah.